Hello everyone, I'm Evan and with me is Brandon for the Peel blog, and today we're going to give you our take on Disney's oceans. And this is part of Disney's Earth Day initiative. The first year they had Earth, then oceans, and then in a couple weeks they'll actually have African cats. But let's get into oceans, which is basically this broad documentary taking us kind of through time, through the ocean's metamorphosis and evolution.
And human interaction.
And human interaction, yes. There's definitely some political swains about humans' role in the oceans. But first, let's just talk about the animal life that we get to see. What did you think, basically, about what you got to see throughout the 90-minute film?
I mean, it was a 90-minute film, like you said, encompassing all of oceans across all of time as we have recorded it. And so it was very broad. There was not anything that was very specific about the film, so we got to see a lot in that 90 minutes. You got to see the different regions of the ocean, different types of animal life, but in terms of actually focusing on anything or getting any particularly phenomenal shots, I thought it was a little bit lacking.
Yeah, I think it's amazing just to weigh it on the other side. Some of the shots that you do get to see are definitely fantastic. I mean, later on in the film, you'll get to see a guy swimming alongside a great white shark or a person next to just this larger than human jellyfish, and you'll get to see just different marine life that you didn't even know existed. Like, I mean, they definitely make comparisons to being like, we're going to space, but there's alien life that's undiscovered right here in the depths below the ocean water. But that led to one of your other criticisms as well. You talked about, we're seeing this cool stuff, but they kind of fail to go into much explanation, like compared to something like Planet Earth, where they really tell you what's going on. Here, it's just kind of you see, but you're not told what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with what you say. It's fantastic to see some of the shots that they have and some of the things that they've captured, but because it's such a broad range, it's such a wide brushstroke that you fail to capture like a lot of the minutia that is definitely out there, because I'm a bit of a oceans documentary nut. But yeah, there's so many like interesting wildlife things that they capture, different types of pods of dolphins, and they'll transition from one pod to another so quickly without really explaining what you're seeing, without kind of saying, well, what you're seeing here is this type of crab or this type of jellyfish. Is just kind of like, oh, and here's some cool jellyfish you can see, which show the ocean's beautiful, and hey, check it out, here's a sea otter, and oh wait, look, this is this. But without giving me an explanation, all I'm seeing are pretty pictures, and I kind of wanted a little more than that.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing too is you really don't know that often where you are. You go through, if you roll through the credits, you see that they're in the Indian Ocean, the Pacific, the Atlantic. They're up in European waters. They spend a lot of time in the Arctic, which that's easier to point out. But I wish they did more explanations on what areas they're at, what time of year, and we got to hear more of those explanations, like you said, and go into more detail. It's narrated by Pierce Brosnan, who, I mean, that's
very
basically
soothing voice.
Who's the only big star attached. I mean, you see very few humans, but Pierce Brosnan, I think, does a pretty good job at taking us through this voyage, even though it's not as detailed as we like. It's still, he does a pretty exquisite job, I think. And then, what are your thoughts on political undertones, but environmentalist undertones throughout the film? Basically, probably in the last fourth of the movie, they get into humans' interaction, and I think one of the quotes is, the ocean's greatest threat is human indifference. Did you like that they actually went that far, Disney as a company, to put this message in, or do you think for this particular film it was kind of unnecessary?
No, I definitely don't think it was unnecessary, but I mean, Oceans, it calls itself a documentary or an ecological drama, and as far as documentaries go, it doesn't weigh up to what it should be doing. I mean, it kind of touched on at the end, humans need to take better care of the ocean because we're dependent on the ocean, and it started talking about that, which I absolutely agree with and I'm all for, but they kind of just said, hey, you should be doing this, kind of, and didn't give any fact behind it. I mean, a documentary is supposed to prove something by giving you facts and information and hard evidence, whereas they kind of just glossed over everything in the entire film. I mean, it's something to pass the time with. I can see it something being like on in the background of like a dental office or like a doctor's office, but it's not something that convinced me of any one specific thing, that really informed me of anything. It was just something that was, okay, I guess I'm just watching this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think overall, Oceans is a great entry point into learning more, and maybe that's what Disney was going for. But like
Mm-hmm.
we've said throughout, it really needed to go into more detail. And I think just having the broad Oceans title, I mean, just trying to cover that, I mean,
Yeah.
picking something that's more specific would have helped out a lot. And that's what Disney's doing next with African Cats. And I think that film will greatly benefit from a more narrow focus.
I mean, if I interject really quickly, Disney does a great job with endearing the viewer to what they're watching. I mean, that's just the history of Disney. You feel for the characters. I mean, animated, real life depictions of animals, which whatever it may be, you feel for what you're watching. And I just didn't think it did as great of a job in this.
Yeah, overall, I give Oceans 3 peels out of 5. First off, the visual imagery you see, some of the shots they've gotten throughout the different oceans is just spectacular and just amazing to see brought to you. And just thinking about the conditions some of these divers endured to bring this to a mass audience is wonderful. But I mean, some of the knocks are just, it's so broad that you want to get more information out of it. But I mean, I think it serves as that entry point. And hopefully they continue to evolve with the Disney Nature Earth Day movies, and I look forward to African Cats. But
absolutely.
3 peels for the oceans, and be sure to check out the peelblog.tumblr.com. We have many more reviews. We have great quotes and everything else, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.